Well, speaking of big studio mergers, news came out yesterday, or maybe even late night on Sunday, but that you guys know I said this a number of months ago. You guys can attest to this. I said this months ago.
Mm-hmm.
I said there were whispers going around that Comcast was going to divest itself of
Yeah.
NBC Universal. I said it on the show. I said it for a while. Well, it did come to fruition. It's been announced that Comcast is going to divest itself of NBC Universal, separating out the technology side of the company, Comcast, with basically the entertainment side of it, NBC Universal, which has got a lot of people talking. And a lot of people believe out there right now that the reason they're spinning off NBC Universal is to make it attractive for a sale. Again, going back to the earlier days of Netflix and Paramount both trying to get it, one of the things that I proposed was that, if Paramount doesn't end up getting Warner Brothers, I think NBC Universal might become a target because I was hearing whispers that Comcast might be spinning them off. Well, here we are now several months later, and it's actually happening. The Hollywood Reporter says the following. Let's get this out of the way first. Comcast co-CEOs Brian Roberts and Mike Cavanaugh told Wall Street analysts Monday that the proposed spinoff of NBC Universal is absolutely not about setting each side of the company up for a sale. However, the story goes on to speculate that none of the analysts believe that at all. None of them believe it at all. So they believe that they are setting it up for a sale, to which the Hollywood Reporter is saying, well, then who might be a buyer for the new NBC Universal? The market might seem frothy for media and entertainment, but aside from the high-profile pursuit of Warner Brothers Discovery, there hasn't been a ton of deal-making for studios or streamers. Roku is a platform after all. They speculate right off the top, Netflix. The obvious name after its pursuit of Warner Brothers Discovery ended, with the streaming giant folding its hands in favor of David Ellison's Paramount. Rumors have rumbled for months that Netflix could eye an asset like NBC Universal as it seeks growth. We've talked for a while now about the fact that Ted Sarandos and Netflix have decided that they actually do want to be in the theatrical movie business, but they do not have the logistics or the infrastructure for it whatsoever. Netflix is always going to be a streaming first company, but they would love to buy another company and get into that game. NBC Universal kind of provides a really interesting thing for that. The IP, while not as strong as Warner Brothers Discovery, is nonetheless better than Netflix's current holdings, and experiences could change the narrative around Netflix's growth, particularly with experiential offerings seeming in demand right now. Because remember, a part of this, guys, with NBC Universal is the theme parks. And Netflix has been doing more with physical brick and mortar experiences stuff. Everything from full experience attractions in certain cities to like Netflix experience restaurants in Las Vegas to like all this kind of stuff. They've been getting more and more into that sort of thing. So the theme parks could actually be an interesting part of that. Now, the Hollywood Reporter article mentions several other potential suitors like Amazon, which I thought would be a buyer at some point. Disney, Paramount or Fox could look at that kind of thing. So the Netflix part of this is the part that to me is really interesting and really juicy. Because again, like I said before and for a long time, Ted Sarandos and Netflix has decided they do want to be in the theatrical movie business. This seems like a very no-brainer kind of acquisition for them. And the little cherry on top would also be that it would end up being cheaper than what Warner Brothers Discovery would be. Doesn't come with all the same IP that Warner Brothers would have come along with, but it would be a cheaper price tag. Here to me, though, is the biggest argument against, and I want to know what you guys think about this. This is the biggest argument, I think, against the idea of Netflix getting NBC Universal. It's not meant to be funny. It's not a joke. I still really believe that the main reason Netflix and Ted Sarandos did not beat Paramount's offer to buy Warner Brothers was because they fully believe that Paramount will fail. I really do think that. I think a part of the strategy of Netflix is they walked away from the deal got a nice $2.5 billion check that Paramount had to give Netflix to walk away. And I think their plan now is like, they're going to fail. And we're going to be able to come in and buy Warner Brothers for pennies on the dollar of what we were going to pay for them. Now, they might be right in thinking that, and they might be wrong in thinking that, but I believe that's their thought process right now. So I think it would make a good idea for them to try to buy Universal, but I think the biggest argument against is that I think they still have their eyes on Warner Brothers. Hell, they might even have their eyes on Paramount and Warner Brothers when they eventually fail, if they do.
Right.
So I don't know. Rob, you had a chance. You saw this story come out here. What do you think about Comcast spinning off NBC Universal? Do you think they will ultimately put themselves up for sale? Do you think Netflix would be a bidder? Do you think somebody else is a better bidder? How do you see this?
Well, it was kind of, it's all surprising. The thing that obviously there's still a lot of infrastructure of the old ways of doing things in terms of TV stations, broadcast stations, cable. There's so much remnants of all of that. And we're in the middle of this, this huge transition. And then you've got the companies that create the content. And I understand how people want to split those things up. Do I think that, obviously Netflix is not a studio, and I think Netflix probably, I'd like to think they've seen the light at having a studio that already has theatrical distribution in place, that already has the infrastructure in place, is probably very desirable to partner up with as far as Netflix is concerned. So I could see them, because that's what they want. They prove Universal or NBC Universal wasn't up for sale yet. There wasn't anything to go after. Well, if there is something to go after, so Netflix won't get what they wanted from Warner Brothers, but they very well could get it from Universal, NBC, and they basically have the exact same thing they would be getting with Warner Brothers. So I could see Netflix.
More so, I would argue.
Yeah, 100%.
To a degree, yeah.
And I think that again, I don't know what's going to happen here, but I could definitely see Netflix being the first and foremost people to step in to want to do something like this. And again, I don't know. I don't know what the differences are, and I just don't know enough about how big and what is everything that's encompassed here. But they also have a bigger. There's a theme park presence here that's pretty substantial. There's all kinds of things that could happen, but it wouldn't surprise me if Netflix did step in.
There's more pieces. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jonathan.
It's just interesting that the real estate deals that Netflix has been going through in Los Angeles, lately, purchasing studio space.
Yes.
I wonder how that overall affects, because if you were to get NBC Universal, you're getting you're not just getting the lot. They own sound stages off lot where that ranch used to be. That's all new, brand new studios, soundstage space. They own the Burbank. It's called Burbank Studios. It was the old NBC studios.
Yep.
That's all soundstage as well. So yeah, I actually grew up running around there with my dad. But so it's interesting, the real estate deals that Netflix is doing right now, and how does that translate to their further acquisitions?
Yeah, and you got to keep in mind too, when you're talking about NBC Universal, you're talking about Universal Studios, you're talking about the Universal Studio theme parks, you're talking about NBC, you're talking about Peacock, and I know they own a bunch of other things too, a bunch of legacy things. Correct me, do they own Bravo? I can't remember if they own Bravo or not. Warner Brothers might own Bravo. But yeah, look, if you can look that up for me, Jonathan, what other properties does NBC Universal owned? So, this would become a big thing. Again,
they have Telemundo, which is massive.
Oh, that's right. That is a big piece of their pie.
Bravo, yes. NBC News now, Bravo. NBC Sports, Golf Channel, Cozy TV, whatever that is, Peacock. Hey, yeah, they have a lot of other international
So a lot of that's going to come into play. Now, I still think the main thing that Netflix is looking for here is still the main thing they were looking for when buying Warner Brothers, which is that distribution infrastructure. Number one, the talent and the availability and the infrastructure and the logistics to make movies. And then more importantly, the logistical infrastructure to actually distribute films, which is something that has taken these studios a century to put into place.
Yeah.
So, but again, I'm still just going to say that I think their main target is still actually Warner Brothers, and they think they're going to be able to get that in a few years. But who knows? We'll have to see. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Comcast is going to spin off NBC Universal. It will no longer be Comcast NBC Universal. It'll be Comcast and it'll be NBC Universal. And are they doing it to sell? And if so, who do you think could come along and pick something like that up? Whatever you guys think about it, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.